بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله والسلام عليه أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدى هدى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Part of the khutbatul hajjah that the Prophet used to say, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, before the salat of the Jummah and al-Eid and for the nikah, and when he would want to, to address the community, he would say the khutbatul hajjah. And I'm sure most of you have heard of this khutbatul hajjah, if not memorized it. But part of the khutbatul hajjah is the statement, the best kalam is the kalam of Allah, and the best Hadyu or Huda is the guidance of the Nabi of Islam, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So from the guidance of Rasulullah, we hear this all the time. Khairul kalam, kalamullahi, wa khairul huda, huda Rasulullah. The best guidance, the best kalam is the Quran, kalam of Allah. The best guidance is what the Prophet brought, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So as we mentioned a few times, from his guidance is this masjid and the central mosque, and the masjid of Tawheed, of Toba, or the whatever the masjid is, wherever it is, in the dunya, Mecca, Medina, Bayt al-Maqdis. I know a Masjid al-Rahmah in Darun and Wad Medina. I know a Masjid al-Rahmah. Whatever the masjid is. From the guidance of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the Muslims came to the masjid, it's not to have people sitting back there like this. Now, I'm not trying to give anybody a hard time, but you hear it. Khairul kalam, kalam Allah. Or khairul huda, huda Rasulillah. The best guidance. When the Muslims came together during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they didn't sit like this. Wallahi, I don't tell you this because I want to give you a hard time and make ihraj. But I want everybody to feel what you're doing right here is not from his guidance. And if we practice his guidance, it's better for us. We're in the masjid. So we want to ask the brothers to come close, inshallah, the ashab of the judur. تفضلوا وانتم كذلك تفضلوا إذا استطعتم. خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدى هدى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. I don't want anybody to be upset with me. I just know with yaqeen that small issues like this, sometimes you will find some people giving the khutbah, giving the dars, they talk about these real big issues like the khilaf, and the khilaf is important, like jihad, and jihad is important. Talk about big issues. But the issues that fi mutanawwal aydina, right here, something simple, you won't hear people talking about that. And if people talk about it, people get mad. I'm not trying to make you angry. I'm just saying, in this masjid, and in every masjid, everybody has a responsibility to do these kinds of, situations. Don't be upset. Anybody upset with me? Anybody upset with me for saying that? Huh? Does anyone have any doubt that the best speech is the speech of Allah? Anybody have a doubt about that? Anybody have a doubt that the best guidance is the guidance of al-Mustafa? Anybody have doubt about that? I know you don't. And this is from his hadith. To the point where the companions were a group of people, as we mentioned all the time. The Prophet saw his companions and they were traveling, musafirin, in the earth. They were traveling. And when you're traveling the earth, everybody wants his space. Everybody. Don't be all up on me. It's hot in the desert. And when they stop to pitch the camp, Rasulullah was put in in his place, and then he looked out and he saw the people over there, and they were traveling. It's like just normal. When you travel, I don't want everybody up on you. And then when he saw them over there, he said, Mali arakum izin. Why are you like this? Inna tafarruqukum fi hadhihi al-awdiya lamin ash-shaytan. You being over here, is from the shaitan. Wallahi. Before the prayer started, Rasulullah would tell the people, straighten up your rows. Because if you don't straighten up your rows, it's going to cause your hearts to be divided. So the imam, the khatib, the mudarris, he gets before the people and he says, al-ittihad, be united. He curses the companions. He's saying something, he's saying something, and we can't even come together. The imam doesn't say that in the salah. It's the simple little things that if we were to do them as Muslims, inshallah, Allah will take care of the big things for us. So you guys know that I like class participation. So I want some class participation today, inshallah. Class participation. I see that some of you are new. The judud, rahibu bikum. Welcome. We're going to ask you some questions, inshallah. Class participation. Today we talked about, the other day we talked about some advice to some of our shabab about the tashaddud on people who may not see things the way you see them. If all of us were to travel from here to Mali and Timbuktu, Mali in Africa, my continent, if we all travel to Mali, we're going to choose one Amir. And on our way to Mali, I'm not going to agree with everybody. And you're not going to agree with me. We're going to have different opinions in Ikhtilaf. Ikhtilaf. Little man, what is Ikhtilaf in English? What is Ikhtilaf in English?
It's really like people are divided.
Yes, people are having different opinions. Ikhtilaf. They have different opinions. I'm not going to agree with all of you from here to Mali. And you're not going to agree with me. We're going to have different opinions. It's going to come time for salat. I don't want to pray now. I'm going to say to the Amir, let's keep going. Because we're traveling. Let's keep going and make Dhuhr and Asr time. Other people are going to say, no, I want to pray Asr right now. Some people are going to say, let's pray Asr, 2 rakats, that's it. Others are going to say, let's pray Salat al-Dhuhr and Asr. Combined. We're going to have Ikhtilaf. But in order to make the trip and to reach where we're going, if we don't know the etiquettes of how to have Ikhtilaf, it's going to be a problem. So if we have anybody in this majlis, anybody as we're traveling, he's mutashaddid, he's rough and tough, he's going to be a problem in our trip. Because this group of Muslims right here, as we travel, we are as strong as the weakest link. So if you can imagine an iron chain, it has pieces to it. Some of the pieces stronger than, we are as strong as the weakest link. So the Prophet ﷺ didn't travel according to the qudra and the istata', the ability of the strongest one. He said we have young people in the Jama'ah. We have women in the Jama'ah. We have old people in the Jama'ah. So he would travel looking at everybody's situation. Now we have young brothers here. I went to the residential with them. We have some fathers with the residential when they were playing soccer, football. They were kicking the ball so hard, I got scared. I wanted to get off the field because they were serious. I wasn't on that level of playing. They were serious. But those guys are capable, able. Not everybody is like that. We have women downstairs. So when I'm traveling with my family, I have my little boy, Sheba, 3 years old. And then I have other people and my wife. We're going to go as fast as Sheba can handle. Because Sheba is the Saghir. Was Saghir who Amir. When Sheba says, I have to stop, I have to go to the toilet, we have to stop. And we have to look out for that little boy. I can't say to my little boy, hey, you have to be patient. Ikhtilaf. How we differ with one another. So the other day, We have some brothers, mashallah, they saw some of the people praying, and they, after salat, made their hands up like this, and they were making dua, and they did their hands like this after the salat, and after every prayer, they do this. So they came to me, and they were quite upset. You have to talk about it. I told the brother, relax. And this issue is Ikhtilaf. Don't be rough and tough in any issue where there is Ikhtilaf, and you can understand why he's saying that and why you're saying that. Don't be rough and don't be tough. So today we talked in the Khutbah al-Jum'ah about al-ijbar, being forced to do something. When you're forced to do something, al-Islam opens up the way for you. I want to ask you some questions. 2 questions. All right? In our community, there are many people who are taxi drivers. Many people, they're taxi drivers. So the taxi driver is at Leeds train station, and he has to get in row. Every time a passenger comes, the car leaves. Another passenger comes, the car leaves. Another one comes. And this is the Muslim brother, one of you people, someone we know. And then he's next. Someone comes out of the train station and says to the taxi driver, who's been waiting in the line for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, for 1 hour. And when he goes to his trip, he has to come back and get in the line. He's been waiting for 1 hour, 45 minutes. This is the question, real life question about ijbar. His turn comes up. Passengers get in, there's 2, 3 passengers, and they say, from Leeds, take me to Keithley. And I want to go to a synagogue in Keithley. Because it's a wedding at the synagogue. Jewish people are going to get married. And after they get married, they're going to drink Khamr right next door. The Muslim taxi driver was in the car waiting all that time. Now his turn comes up. And these are the people who come to him. The question is, can he take those people to the Jewish synagogue from Leeds to Keithley, and he's going to make 120 pounds? More money than he would normally make just driving around, dropping someone off from the train station to here. He gets 7 pounds. They said, take me to Keithley, 115 pounds. But he's taking people to the synagogue where the people worship other than Allah. And the Yahud. وَمَا أَدْرَاكُمْ مَا الْيَهُودِ. You know, take them over here. So now the question is it permissible? We're Muslims to this person. We're in a community. Is it permissible for him to do that? Yes. What's the dalil? And no, what's the dalil? Don't just say yes. And this is one reason why I'm asking the question. Because in our community, in Islam, it is not okay for everybody to sit and just say yes and no, and it's just from your head. You have to have some idea. You read where a scholar says something. You read about the issue. You have dalil. And even if you didn't hear something, you yourself, you're sitting there. You're an Arab Muslim man, and you know ayat of the Quran in your head. And this comes to you. You have to say, okay, what is it? Not just kalam farik from the air, yes, no. And we say, why? You say, I don't know. So is it permissible for that Muslim brother to take that Yahud man, 2, 3, 4, from these to the synagogue where they're going to get married and then they're going to drink Khamr and have a party? Is that permissible? Is that permissible? Is that permissible? 1, 2, 3, 4.
No.
Is that permissible? I just want to say, who has his hand up? 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I love your hand is up, but I'm going to go over to the Sudan before you. All right? Is it permissible? Yes or no?
It would be a struggle for this guy to come back again if he loses his chance to take up a single. It would be another cycle of waiting, and that waste of his time and his investment in time.
So therefore, it's what?
He's allowed to take.
He's allowed. The brother's point of view, no ayat from the Quran, no hadith. It's a dalil aqli. And the dalil aqli, intellectual one, says, well, if he says to the Yahud, no, I can't take you to there, and then he has to drive all the way around and come back in the line. And then when his turn comes again, Gothics come. You know Gothics? You know Gothics? Like Marilyn Manson. You know Gothics. Like the Matrix. You know that.
We call them goths.
Goths. You know Goths? He comes back around, and then 3 Goths get in the car and say, take us to that old church that's a Goth's place. We're going to go and have a party at the club. We're going to drink Hummer, and we're going to do all that. And that's the second trip. So if he can't go the first trip, the second trip is worst. So he says, I can't take you. And then he goes back around again. And he keeps doing that. That's his point of view. And he didn't give us any dalil. It's a dalil aqli. And the dalil aqli counts in our religion. Is what he's saying, does it make sense or it doesn't make sense? Does it make sense or does it make sense? Because now I saw some people hands up, and now they're looking like this. It's okay. You give your opinion. So his position makes sense. I believe it makes sense. All right. Anybody else want to say now? Anybody? Tfaddal.
Muhammad used to deal with the Jewish in different ways, in trades, and even there is a event that he borrowed a shield from the Jewish. Ali ibn Abi Talib did so, and this is before they being kicked out. And even in the Quran, there is many issue about how to deal with them, even about the blood money. That means there is somehow we deal with them unless we put ourselves in a place that which is forbidden for us or not allowed.
So our brother said that the Nabi of Islam sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to work with the Jews and the Christians. He used to work with the mushrikeen in Mecca and Medina. He wasn't living on an island by himself. When he died, his weapons were marhuna with a Yehudi. He died and his weapons. وَجُعِلَ رِزْقِي تَحْتَ ظِلِّ رُمْحِ. It was with a Yehud. And when he told Ali ibn Abi Talib, what are you going to give my daughter for the mahr? What are you going to give her? He said, I don't have anything except my weapons, Ya Rasulullah. He said, go sell it and get the money and give it to the mahr for my daughter. And he went and sell it to a Yehudi, got that money and gave it to Fatima Zahra radiyallahu anha for a mahr. So the Prophet worked with the Yehud. So the Yehud come to you at the taxi. But now the question is going to be, but all of those ways of cooperating with the Yahud and the Nasara and the Mushrikeen didn't mean taking them to drink Khamr and didn't mean to take them, because if it was an example where he took them to drink Khamr, or a companion poured them Khamr, or sold them Khamr, or drank with them Khamr, there's no issue.
Because his intention is not, he doesn't know who's going to come and stand. So
the guy who's driving a taxi, in his business of driving a taxi, when he's getting in that taxi to drive in the morning, he doesn't know where he's going. The calls come to him randomly. So we could give an example of this. We could stretch it out. One of you, you're working for the telephone company. And you go to the telephone company, your job in the morning. Or you're working in IT. You install Wi-Fi or whatever. You're a chippy. You're a plumber. And you go to the address. 2565 Clarence Road. That's all you know. You go there and it's a church. So you have to put a telephone in the church and Wi-Fi in the church. Your job, you have to put Wi-Fi in the church, a telephone in the church. And you're a technician. You got up in the morning. You didn't know that's your job. So when you get there, do you say to the people at your job, oh, hey, it's a church. Kufr, shirk. Hey, I can't do this. You have to send someone else. So that's what he's saying. The person doesn't know his job. He doesn't know what he's going to do. He doesn't know. Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else? You had your hand up.
They have to do the job. they didn't mix up with the religion.
So they have to do a job, and the job that they're doing is not mixing up with their religion. Not mixing up with their religion. Meaning what? Not mixing up with their religion.
Meaning that
You're not trying to help these kuffar.
no, you have to do your job because you have to wait half an hour, 1 hour. After, when you have a turn, you have to do the job.
Yeah.
That's it.
So I think he's saying that the job itself is the job. So
Yeah.
the job itself is halal, it's permissible. What they're doing, the people that get in your car and where they go, that's their responsibility. And they're accountable for that. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I'm not responsible and accountable for your actions and you're not for mine.
لا تزر وازرة وزر أخرى. Sheikh, عندك شيء.
I'm just going to say this goes back to the point that we raised that in the Ikhtilaf. It goes back to the Ikhtilaf of how we think about it, you know. Since you are already in a kuffar country, you have to deal with these things.
Well, we're here.
Yes.
From the adults here, how many of you have a bank account? How many of you have a bank account? From the adults here, how many? I work for the masjid, and my check goes straight to the bank. Straight to the bank. And if I said to the masjid, give me cash money, we all can go to jail. And they'll shut the masjid down. But now the question that presents itself, so that we're not mutasahilun, we're not easy people, ashab al-rukhus, every time we get a chance, we're going to say, I have to do this, I have to do that. What about the ayat of the Quran? وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Cooperate with people on righteousness, what's correct. And don't cooperate on what's evil, what's wrong. Aren't we helping these people when we go to the church?
Intention. We don't have intention to do that.
You don't have the intention. Aywa?
There's a hadith the Prophet ﷺ mentions, if you leave something for the sake of Allah, Allah will replace it with something better. You knowing that this is gonna say if the Jew person he makes it clear to you that he's going to the synagogue to do actions, and you know that actions are against Islam, then we use the ayah وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ, because that's a principle. And to go against that principle, you need a necessity. So if that money that you need at that time, you can't live without it, then inshallah, maybe you can get away with that. But if you can't, then the ayah comes in place. And you
So my brother is saying that everybody here, you have a religious responsibility to memorize this hadith and the meaning of this hadith. من ترك شيئا لله عوضه الله ما هو خير منه. Anyone who leaves something for Allah, Allah will give him better than what he left. So as a taxi driver, the Yahudi want to come, they want to go to the club, they want to go here or whatever. I can't go there. I'm leaving it for Allah. Allah said in the Quran, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. If you fear Allah, Allah is going to reward you and give you rizq from where you don't know. So what that brother is saying is a valuable lesson. That the Muslim is not like a piece of paper always saying, I'm in the UK. I'm in the UK. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Some people want to take that higher level. But the question now is, brothers, can we put that on everybody to tell him to do that? No, we can't do that. We can't put that on everybody. We cannot put that on everybody. And that's the point here today. Listen, especially you young brothers. A few years ago in Green Lane Masjid, I gave a khutbah about a girl by the name of Shamima Begum. Do you know her? You guys heard of her?
Yeah.
Have you seen the recent pictures that went viral about our sister Shamima Begum? All right, Shamima Begum, she has a soft spot in my heart, and that I feel sorry for the sister, the young girl who ran from London and went to Syria as a little girl. How old are you? 16. She was younger than him. How old are you? Huh? stand up for a minute. You know, boys, they grow bigger and quicker than girls. She's younger than him. This boy is 15. She was 14, 15. Sit down. She went and she was involved with this. Oh, I'm going to go help jihad and mujahideen and this and that. And she doesn't know her elbow from her ankle bone. If the noon is sacking hit her in her head, she doesn't know that's noon is sacking. How many of you Shabab know noon is sacking? How many of you know our people know noon is sacking? She doesn't know noon is sacking. But she's ignorant. Jahila. She's looking and trying to find herself. She went to Syria and had 3 babies. 3 babies by a husband her family doesn't even know. And each one of them died. And now after all of this drama, the UK government doesn't want to let her back in. I gave a khutbah back then saying, she's a little girl. She's a kid. Like, I was a kid and I made mistakes. And everybody here was a kid and you made mistakes. And she was vulnerable. She didn't know. She was vulnerable. African Americans in America, because we're poor, the judiciary system is against us. So what happens is, you'll find a poor person, Hispanic, Mexican, you'll kill someone, you'll do a big crime, and then they charge you as an adult and you're a kid. That's not constitutionally acceptable because your intellect is not there yet. So when I gave the khutbah about this girl way back then, it was for the Shabab to tell them, hey, don't you travel somewhere on your own. And you didn't talk to your parents. And you didn't talk to people with knowledge. Just you and some other kids. And now you go overseas and you find yourself in a situation like that. And now the sister wants to come back and she can't come back. Because what she did was wrong. It was wrong. Traveling all the way. And when she went, her mother did an interview with BBC. And her mother said on BBC, and I mentioned this in the khutbah in Birmingham, she said, I'm free from my daughter and what my daughter did, and this is not from Islam. So none of you young people, none of you allow yourself to do something like that. When you have a father and a mother, you have people in the masjid who are older than you. You would go and talk to them and say, I want to go here, I want to go. They're going to say, what are you doing? Don't do that. So the sister has done something that is a big problem because she doesn't have knowledge. But I'm against what the government is doing as it relates to her. She made a mistake as a child. She was a baby. So we're petitioning the United States government. Stop sentencing African Americans and poor people. Youth defenders, stop sentencing them as adults. He's only 14. He made a mistake. He got a gun. He shot someone and killed them at the age of 13, 14. Now he has to be in prison for 40 years, 45 years. And then these people come and talk about al-adl and democracy. And we as Muslims look at that and yeah. It's not fair. But the point here is, you youngsters, especially you teenager ones, don't get him caught in that situation. So now, the point. As we live here in this country, I always tell the community, we're not apologizing for being here. We're not second-class citizens. We're first-class citizens. But as Muslims, we have a responsibility to exist here and navigate with our religion. When it comes to these issues of Ikhtilaf, the more you learn about this religion, the better it is you'll be able to deal with the Muslims. So when the brother was making dua and he was doing this, you got mad at him. What are you doing? You're muqtadi. La ya akhi. No, it's an issue of ikhtilaf in the mas'ala. It's wasi'ah. It doesn't require all of that. So as it relates to how we work and we find ourselves in these situations, you have to take it easy. Now, I want to ask you a question. We have ikhtilaf, and it's a bad thing to have ikhtilaf. It is a bad thing. There are ayat of the Quran. لا تكونوا من المشركين من الذين فرقوا دينهم وكانوا شيعا كل حزب بما لديهم فرحون. Don't have ikhtilaf. Where you from, my brother?
From Ethiopia.
Ethiopia. Ahlan. Where you from?
Ethiopia.
Ethiopia. Where you from, Ahi? He's from Chad. He's from Sudan. Brother is from Syria. Where you from, my man? Pakistan. Where you from, my brother?
Saudi.
He's from Saudi. Where you from?
Pakistan.
Our Imam right there is from the Sudan and Habib. We're all from different places. And where we come from, what I eat is different from you. How I think is different from what I dress is different. So when we have ikhtilaf about what we eat, what we do, no problem. But when we come to this religion, if we don't know about this religion, the basics, and you just rough and tough, your da'wah is going to be a problem. Because everybody is different here. Everybody. And Allah said, don't be from the polytheist. Those people who split up. They divide themselves. And every group is happy with what it has. So the Saudi Arabian is happy with his situation. The one from Syria, the one from America, the black one, the white one, the one from Ethiopia, the rich one, the poor one, the women on there. No. We have to learn our religion to know how to deal with each other. And for the students in this class, those of you who really try to be students, I keep telling you, take it easy. Al-amru bil-ma'ruf and al-nahy anil-munkar. Our community right now is in a situation where a lot of our community members don't really know what is real Islam. So you have to be gentle with the people, easy with the people. One of the great scholars of Islam during this time, he died. His name is Muhammad Nasruddin al-Albani. I want to ask my student, al-Albani, is he ma'soom? Is he mistakeless? He doesn't make mistakes. We have to take everything he says? No. Al-Albani, is he in Jannah? Do we say, Wallahi, he's in Jannah? Do we say that? No, we don't know that. Al-Albani, Khalid, don't drop the ball. Don't drop the ball, Khalid. Al-Albani, this Sheikh, is Allah pleased with him or Allah is angry with him? Another student, one of my students. Is Allah pleased with Al-Albani or angry with him? We don't know that. We don't know. Al-Imam al-Bukhari, is he in Jannah? We don't know. Ikhwani. Other than the prophets and the messengers, the companions, the people who were mentioned in the Quran from the Salihin, Khidr and people like that, we don't know about other people. But we have husna dhan wa raja, we hope. And Al-Albani used to say to the people, Al-Haq thaqeel, la nastafqiruhu bimu'amalina. Al-mu'amala, mu'amalatina, will be aslubina. The truth. If you come to my mother, my father, and you say, hey, you're worshiping Isa ibn Maryam, it's not true. That's heavy for them to accept from you and me. That everything they've been doing is wrong. It's heavy. So if I bring that haq to them and I say, hey, you stupid. What you're doing is dumb. You people are dumb. And I talk to them like that. Do you think they'll ever accept the truth from me? Never. Our community is like that. A person grows up believing I'm Hanafi and everything that Hanafi do is right. But that's not true. But he doesn't know. So what you have to do and what we have to do is educate the people in a nice way. That's my message to you brothers today. I want to talk about some things today, inshallah, before this grub comes, before we get with this grub. But there are reasons why we have ikhtilaf between ourselves. If you study and you understand those reasons, you would know what type of ikhtilaf is okay to have and what kind of ikhtilaf is not okay to have. For an example, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, does he know the ilm al-ghayb? Does he know that? Does he know when Yawm al-Qiyamah is? So if a person says, Wallahi, he knows, we're going to say, no, there's no room for that. We're going to try to educate him. We're going to try to educate him in an easy way, but we're not going to accept that. That thing about pointing the finger. He was pointing his finger like that. The other one kept it straight. The other one had it down, and then when he came to Ashhadu an la, he put it up. 3 different people in the same saf. It's a mas'ala, wasi'ah, no problem. But the one who says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, are we going to allow that? We're not going to allow that. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, we're going to say, what are you doing? 2, 3, what are you doing? We're not going to allow that. But I think you should just keep it straight. He thinks, Al-Albani, you should move it. He doesn't know. So he waits and then he said, easy, no problem. Now, one of the reasons why we have Ikhtilaf, and the first one at the top of the list, I want to mention to the young brothers, maybe the only one we do, but it is because the dalil came to a person, the truth, the knowledge, the proof. It came to one person and it didn't come to the other person. With a show of hands, your right hands. You know when we pray, there's a thing called Raf'ul Yadayn. Raf'ul Yadayn. Our brothers who come from Sudan, they're in this mystery right now. They're Maliki. Some of the people in Sudan, they pray with their hands like this. We have Hanafi brothers who don't do Raf'ul Yadayn. Okay, my question is, how many of you heard of Raf'ul Yadayn? Put your hand up. Have you heard of it? Is Raf'ul Yadayn from the Sunnah or is not from? If it is from the Sunnah, put your hand up. Put your hand down. It's okay. If it's not from the Sunnah or you don't do it, put your hand up. Don't be worried. Don't worry about it.
They don't know what it is, so they don't know what they're answering.
Raf'ul Yadayn is when you pray, you raise your hands while you're praying. Is that from the Sunnah or not?
Sunnah.
It's from the Sunnah. No doubt it's from the Sunnah. Rasulullah, he did Raf'ul Yadayn in 4 places in the prayer. 4 places. 4 places. 4 places. Stand up. What 4 places did he raise his hand? When he first started, he said, Allahu Akbar, did Raf'ul Yadayn. Go ahead. So in Takbirat al-Ihram, he did Raf'ul Yadayn. When he went down in Ruku', he did Raf'ul Yadayn, 2nd time. Okay? When he came from Ruku', he did Raf'ul Yadayn. Although his father is helping him. His father's helping him. That's number 3. That's number 3. And Sheikh, what's the ayah? قال سنشد عضدك بأبيك.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay. All right, get up. That's 3. Listen, guys, when you start the prayer from the Sunnah of the Prophet who says, Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. Pray the way I pray. And he got up on the minbar and he showed people. When he did the first Takbiratul Ihram, Allahu Akbar. Read Surah Al-Fatiha, another surah, Allahu Akbar. He went down. He came up, Sami Allah, liman hamid, Allahu Akbar. And then he went down. After he stayed down in the 2nd rak'ah, At-Tahiyyatu lillahi was-salawatu wat-tayyibatu and all of that. When he came up for the 3rd rak'ah, he raised his hand. Al-Imam al-Bukhari has a book that he wrote just in this called Book or the Jews of Raf'ul Yadayn, showing all of the dalil that is from the Sunnah. But listen, that hadith came to you, it came to me. But the brother over there, he never heard that hadith in his life. He never heard it. And he grew up in an environment, they don't do that. So he doesn't do it. So when you see he doesn't do it, does it mean that he hates the Sunnah?
No.
Does it mean you love the Sunnah and you're ahras and more, and he hates it? Does it mean that? No, doesn't mean that. I want to ask you a question. Is there any companion who heard all of the Sunnah and they knew all of the Sunnah? Is there any companion? Is there any companion who knows all of the Sunnah? Huh? No companion knows all of the Sunnah. During the lifetime of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, and he's the best of this ummah, an old lady died, she was the grandmother. Her relatives, or someone died, Someone died, and the grandmother of the dead person came to Abu Bakr and said, I want my money. I want my miraf. I want my inheritance. Abu Bakr said, no, I'm not giving you anything. You don't get anything. You don't get anything. Does anyone know that this lady gets anything? The companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, yes. Muhammad ibn Maslama. He said, yes, she gets a 6. He said, is anybody would agree to what he's saying? Another companion, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, said, yes. Rasulullah gave us 6. He gave her that too. Abu Bakr didn't know that.
1/6.
What did I say? 1/6. Sudus, 1/6. Umar. Does Umar know all of the sunnah? Can you give us an example that proves Umar doesn't know all of the sunnah?
He was not memorizing even the Quran. He did not even memorize all the Quran.
Yeah, that's a statement that he didn't memorize all of the Quran, but we're asking, did he know all of the sunnah?
The mahar for a lady.
The mahar is an example. Whether Umar said if anybody gives a woman more money than Rasulullah gave his wife, I'm going to take the extra and just give it to her. I'll give you an easier one than that. And remember this. Abu Musa al-Ash'ari came to the house of Umar when he was the Khalifa. And Abu Musa al-Ash'ari knocked on the door of the Amir al-Mu'mineen 3 times. When no one opened the door, Abu Musa al-Ash'ari left. Umar came to the door and he saw him walking away. Later on, he saw him in the masjid and he said, you came to my house and I saw you walking away. Why did you walk away? Abu Musa said, I heard the Prophet ﷺ say, the step ahadukum thalatha falam yu'dhan lahu falyansarif. If anyone knocks 3 times, this is just not the hadith. This is for you to know. If anyone knocks 3 times and no one answers, then go away. So I left. Umar, when he heard that, he became angry. He said, I never heard that from the Prophet ﷺ. And I used to always be with him. Early in the morning, I went to him. And I stayed with him all day. I saw what he did every day. And something like this is too mundane. It's too easy. It's too simple. Knocking on the door. He said, I never heard that. He told Abu Musa, you better bring me someone who's going to collaborate and agree with it. If you don't, I'm going to deal with you giving weak hadith. Weak hadith. Like the Christians. Jesus said this. The Yahud. Musa said that. Inna abghadul halal ilallah talaq and all that kalam farik. Weak hadith. Awwal ma khalaqullah ruh Muhammad. First thing Allah created was Muhammad. And he put Muhammad, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah on the arsh. Kalam farik. It's not our religion. It's not our religion. You have to say authentic hadith. Anyway, Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, who knew the hadith that Umar didn't know, he went to the masjid, he came to the masjid, he was looking sad. They said, what's the matter? He told them what happened. They started laughing. They said, we're going to send with you the youngest one from us to collaborate. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, who went with them. And he said, yes, Amir al-Mu'mineen, I heard the Prophet say that hadith. So my question, Akhi Irfan, how is it possible that Umar didn't know that hadith? How is it possible? It's possible because no one knows all of the sunnah. So before we finish and get our grub on, real quick, does Imam Abu Hanifa know all of the sunnah? No. But does that mean Imam Abu Hanifa is less, he's no good? Does that mean that? Does it mean I'm bigger than Abu Hanifa? Hasha lillah. No scholar in the dunya today compares to Imam Abu Hanifa. And Imam Malik. And Imam Malik was a tremendous scholar. Did he know everything in Islam? He didn't know everything in Islam. So for you young brothers, take it easy and relax. And Amr bil Ma'ruf, it has adab, it has ahkam, it has knowledge. I know what you're doing. Also, al-Ikhtilaf. The more you know about Ikhtilaf, the better you'll be in dealing with situations. This is what we wanted to mention to you guys, inshallah. You have any questions, little man? Come here, come here. Come here. Yeah, who else? This is my brother right here from Sudan, but he's by way of America, and he's taken over the best position of the students. So if you guys don't get with the programming, this guy's gonna pass everybody. All right? All right? That's for my youngsters right there. But he has to come on Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday to get with the program. You guys have any questions? Yeah, last question, one and last. Yes. Further.
So the mentioned that we talked about the ruling of that taxi situation. You said it doesn't apply, the ayah that I mentioned or the hadith, it doesn't apply on everyone. What's the reason?
No, this ayah applies. Cooperate with people on what's right, and the ayah leaving things for Allah, it applies to the taxi driver. But we're not going to superimpose those ayahs on the person. The ayah of the Quran is clear. بَلَ الْإِنسَانُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ بَصِيرًا. You and I, we're not in a position to determine what that taxi driver can do and handle. Not you can't determine, I can't determine. Leave this and go all the way around, get in the line again. We can't determine that. He has to feel Allah Azza wa Jalla in his own. Like the people, those of you who work in Morrison's. Hey, those of you who work in Morrison's and you work in Asda. Is everything in Morrison Asda halal? What do they have in their haram? Khamr, cigarettes, what else? Pork. Hey, how many of you ate pork before? I'm just kidding. He's from Mexico. We ate pork before. Anyway, when you're working in those stores, if you can avoid getting khamr and giving it to them, if you can avoid it, avoid it. But if you can't avoid it, that's not what you're there for in that job. Now, every Muslim has to do his best to make your job halal, all halal. But I work for the masjid. And my money coming to the bank. There's riba and the dust of riba touching my money. And I work for the masjid. So that's the situation that we're living in. So it's not just making jihad about doing the right thing. It's about putting yourself in a position where the better job you get, inshallah, the better your education, hopefully, the less you have to deal with these things. This is why I tell you, young brothers, to excel academically so you're not a bum. Excel academically so that you'll be in a better position to get one of those jobs where you're not just doing the labor that we have to do, your fathers, people have to do, and you don't have a choice. Okay, inshallah, we're going to get with the grub right now. Hada wa sallallahu wa sallam barak ala nabiyyina. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.